Yeah, hey everyone. I know we've been talking about memory management lately, but before we get into the next couple topics with that, we do need to understand the concept of a thread. I know it's came up a little bit and I just said don't worry about it for now, but this topic will kind of cover everything you should know from now on out until we get to more complex topics with this. So essentially what this PowerPoint will cover is what is a thread, what is multi-threading within Java, and how does this apply to Boomi. So with that said, let's go to our slide. So a thread, think of it as an execution path or a task within a program. So it's super, super lightweight. It's the smallest, essentially the smallest unit of processing in this aspect. There's different types of threads. We don't really need to worry about those, but some threads can perform background tasks without actually interrupting the main program. So regardless of what your program does, there's always going to be one thread, it's main. So if you think about coding, there's always a main class, so a main thread associated with that. And there's going to be different stages to a thread. We don't necessarily need to get into them right now, but a thread, for example, can be running, can be timed waiting, so it's waiting on something over a certain period of time. It can be blocked, meaning it cannot do anything until whatever is blocking it is complete or dies. Items as that, which we will talk about. So with that said, so why am I worrying about threading? So you're going to be worrying about threading because of the concept of multi-threading, because Java is a multi-threading programming language. So multi-threading essentially means I want to execute multiple threads at the same time so I can max out my CPU, max out my resources, and speed up processing time. Pretty logical. So a couple items to note for that. All threads are going to use the same JVM heap. Yes, they will have their own stack, own counter items as that, but all of the threads regardless will end up using that same JVM heap. So with that said, do not overuse threads when you're programming. If you overuse, you're going to overuse your resources, max out your CPU. You're going to have some sort of like unexpected behavior in your process or code. Maybe it be slowness, maybe it be like an error about threading or like an unexpected error has occurred, something along those lines, like an unknown failure. So you have to make sure that you know how to program your application. So you kind of get that healthy middle ground where your process runs as quick as it can and you're not overusing your resources for this one process. So with that said, how does this apply to Boomi? So you can multi-thread within Boomi through the flow control shape. So what I'll show you now is just within Boomi. I just have a simple process here. So if you use a flow control shape, you're going to set your parallel processing type because we are parallel processing. We're having multiple tasks execute at the same time in parallel. So we're going to be using threads. Don't worry about processes right now. We'll get into that. And the number of threads specifies how many threads I want to execute in parallel from the flow control shape to the end of processing. So within Boomi, obviously, this is going to help speed up your processing and evenly spread out your memory and CPU allocated to your JVM. So another item I wanted to cover that you may see is a hung process. So think about it this way. The process is being executed through a series of tasks, threads. So what would you want to look at? You would want to look at the state of the threads to see why something may be hung. Is something blocked? Is something timed waiting? Items along that sort. Another item, is it deadlocked? Is a thread locked trying to wait for something where, let's say, another thread or another process may have an exclusive lock to? So items as that you would see in a thread dump. We have instructions how to generate that, but typically if you do see a hung process and you can't see anything obvious, you can see what some of the threads are waiting on, what they're blocked by, and kind of correlate that like accordingly, basically. So that's kind of what I wanted to cover today. And now we can get into more subsequent topics and items such as more advanced memory management within Java. All right, sounds good, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.